I did not want to go back. 7 years is a long time to be invisible. 7 years of birthdays I was not invited to. 7 years of holidays where they just forgot to call. 7 years of watching from the outside as my sister became the sun everyone orbited around. But it was my mother's 60th birthday. And somewhere deep inside me, some pathetic, desperate little girl still wanted to believe that maybe, just maybe, things had changed. They had not. I pulled into the driveway at 6:32 p.m. The house looked exactly the same. White shutters. That old oak tree I used to climb. The front porch where I sat crying at 17 after they told me I was too much trouble and sent me to live with Grandma for 6 months. I remember gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. "You can do this," I whispered to myself. "Just show your face. Eat some cake. Leave." But what happened next changed everything. The front door was already open when I walked up. Music floated out. Laughter. The clinking of wine glasses. I could smell my mother's famous lasagna, the one she only made for special occasions. For a split second, my chest swelled with something that felt dangerously close to hope. Then I walked inside, and reality hit me like a slap. My sister, Jessica, was standing by the fireplace holding a glass of red wine. She had gotten blonder, thinner, more expensive. Her husband, Mark, stood beside her in a suit that probably cost more than my first car. The one I crashed. The one they never let me forget. The room went quiet for exactly 1 second when people noticed me. Then Jessica looked me up and down. And she laughed. "Still a loser, huh?" I did not see this coming. Not because I expected a warm welcome, but because of what happened next. My mother, my own mother, was sitting on the couch with her wine glass. She heard what Jessica said. She saw me standing there in my plain black dress, the only nice thing I owned, the one I had ironed 3 times so it would not look wrinkled. And she did not defend me. She did not say, "That is not nice," or "Be kind to your sister," or even just, "Jessica, stop." Instead, my mother raised her wine glass to her lips, sipped, and smirked, right at me, as if we were sharing a joke, as if my humiliation was entertainment, as if the last 7 years of silence were something I deserved. That smirk told me everything I needed to know. I was still the family disappointment. Still the one they talked about when I was not in the room. Still the punchline. And Jessica? She was still the favorite. The golden child. The one who graduated with honors, married rich, bought a house in the nice part of town, and gave Mom 2 perfect grandchildren. Meanwhile, I was the one who dropped out of community college, who could not keep a relationship, who worked 3 jobs just to afford a studio apartment with a leaky ceiling. At least, that is what they thought. The truth was worse than I imagined, but not for the reasons they believed. I did not say a word. Not one. I just stood there in the doorway while Jessica's laughter faded into awkward coughs from the other guests. Aunt Carol looked at her shoes. Uncle Mike pretended to check his phone. My father, who divorced Mom 5 years ago and somehow still showed up to these things, gave me a look I could not read. But Mom just kept smirking. And Jessica kept drinking her wine like she had just won something. So I smiled. Not a happy smile. Not a sad smile. A patient smile. The kind of smile someone gives when they know something you do not. Because here is the thing they did not know. Here is the thing I had been hiding for 7 years while they laughed and whispered and erased me from family photos. I was not broke anymore. I was not struggling. I was not the loser Jessica still saw when she looked at me. And tonight I was going to show them exactly who I had become. But first, I needed them to keep laughing. I needed them to think nothing had changed. So I walked past Jessica without reacting. I hugged Mom, felt her stiffen slightly, felt how she barely touched me back. I set my purse down by the coat rack. I poured myself a glass of water from the kitchen and stood in the corner like I always used to. Waiting. Watching. Listening. And what I heard made my blood run cold. Jessica was talking to Mom in the kitchen. They did not know I could hear them through the swinging door. "Can you believe she actually showed up?" Jessica whispered, laughing. "In that dress? She looks like she is still working at that diner." Mom's voice was softer, but just as cruel. "I did not think she would come. I only invited her because your father said I should. Probably wants money, Jessica said. She always wants something. Not this time, Mom replied. I am not giving her a cent. She made her choices. I stood there with my water glass frozen halfway to my lips. 7 years. 7 years of silence, and they thought I was the one who wanted something. 7 years of being ignored, and they thought I was the one who made bad choices. I did not know it then, but those words in the kitchen would be the last cruel thing they ever said about me without consequences. Because I was not the same girl who left this house 7 years ago. And I was not leaving the same way either. I set down my water glass, walked calmly to the front door, stepped outside into the cool evening air. I pulled out my phone and sent a single text message. 3 words, it is time. Then I walked back inside. But this time, I did not go to the corner. I walked straight to the center of the living room, right in front of the big window that faced the driveway. You know what is funny? I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. The room went quiet again. Jessica raised an eyebrow. Did you finally lose your mind? No, I said. I finally found it. About 3 years ago. Agent Davis grabbed Mark by the collar before he reached the kitchen. Slammed him against the wall. The picture frames rattled. Jessica screamed. My mother dropped her wine glass, and it shattered across the floor like her entire world. Mark Thornton, Agent Davis announced, you are under arrest for money laundering, wire fraud, and conspiracy to commit identity theft. The second agent, Monroe, was already reading him his rights. Mark struggled. You have no proof. We have 3 years of proof. Agent Davis cut him off. Provided by your sister-in-law. Jessica looked at me like I had stabbed her. You did this? I did not answer. I just watched. But what happened next changed everything. Agent Monroe turned to Jessica. You are also under arrest. She stumbled backward. For what? I did not. You helped him hide the money. You opened bank accounts in your name. You transferred funds to offshore accounts. We have the signatures. We have the IP addresses. We have everything. Jessica collapsed. Right there on the floor. Mascara running down her cheeks. The golden child reduced to a sobbing mess. And then Agent Davis looked at my mother. Mrs. Harrison, he said. You are also being charged. The room went completely silent. My mother's mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. What? This is my house. I did not do anything. This house was purchased with laundered money. You signed the closing documents. You knew the source of the funds was suspicious. That makes you criminally liable for receiving stolen property. The truth was worse than she ever imagined. My mother started shaking her head. No, Mark told me it was an inheritance. I did not know. You knew, I said quietly. Everyone looked at me. Jessica told you 3 years ago that Mark's business was shady. I know because I was there. Christmas dinner. You were all drinking wine in the living room. Jessica said she was worried about some of the investments. And you told her not to ask questions because the house payments were being made. My mother's face crumbled. You looked right at me that night, I continued. And you said, at least someone in this family knows how to provide. She did not deny it. She could not. Agent Monroe pulled out handcuffs. My mother started crying. Real tears this time. Not the fake ones she used to get her way. Please, she begged. I am 60 years old. Please do not do this. You should have thought about that before you sold out your own daughter, I said. She looked at me with something that might have been regret. Or maybe just fear. I could not tell anymore. And I did not care. Agent Davis turned to me. We will need your statement tonight. I will come to the office, I said. Then I looked at the rest of my family. Aunt Carol was crying. Uncle Mike was on his phone, probably calling a lawyer. My father just stood there with his arms crossed, watching it all like a movie he had already seen. He walked over to me. I did not know about the money, he said quietly. Maybe not, I replied. But you knew about everything else. And you never said a word. He did not argue. He just nodded and walked out the door. Agent Monroe led Mark out in handcuffs. Agent Davis took Jessica by the arm. My mother was crying so hard she could barely walk. The neighbors were gathered on the sidewalk. Cell phones out. Recording everything. By morning, the whole town would know. By morning, my mother would have nothing left. I walked to the door and paused. Looked back at the living room. The shattered wine glass. The overturned chairs. The cake still sitting on the table with Happy 60th Mom written in icing. One more thing, I said. Everyone stopped. That car you thought was mine? The one you all laughed at when I pulled in? It is a 2019 Honda Civic. Nothing special. I bought it with the money I saved from working those 3 jobs you thought were so pathetic. I let that hang in the air. But the reward the FBI gave me for helping convict Mark? That is sitting in a bank account. Enough to buy this house 3 times over. Not that I would ever want it. My mother let out a wail that echoed through the neighborhood. I am not telling you this to be cruel, I said. I am telling you so you understand. I was never the loser. I was never the failure. I was the one who got out. And you were the ones who stayed. Agent Davis nodded at me. We will see you downtown. I stepped outside into the cool night air. Behind me, I heard my mother's screams turn into sobs. I heard Aunt Carol asking someone for bail money. I heard the sound of a family tearing itself apart. And I felt nothing. Not sadness. Not victory. Just the quiet peace of someone who had finally closed a door that should have been shut years ago. They spent 7 years trying to erase me. Tonight, I erased their entire future. And when it was over, nothing was left.